A plethora of garbage scattered on the streets, litter items floating on oceans and seas. Non-bioplastics comprise mostly of these wastes. As population grows, plastic pollution continually pervades. 500 million tons of plastic are annually produced. Why don't we reduce the plastic we use? If you can't recycle, why don't you just refuse? We can save the world if we choose to refuse single-use. Plastic products are essential. We cannot avoid using them because they are vital. They are indeed beneficial, but its excessive use makes nature critical. Plastics made our life way easier and more convenient. Since these are lightweight, versatile, and most cost-efficient, became widely used and crucial in society's development. Yet, how come this boon turned into a bane to the environment? Companies manufacture plastic products carelessly, while people exploit the single-use items recklessly. Indeed, this crisis was led by negligence and apathy. We're suffering, but when will we put an end to this adversity?
What could be the solution to this plastic pollution?
Just one straw. It's just one straw. It's just one straw.
It's just one straw, said 10 billion people. Hundreds of marine species die due to entanglement and suffocation. They also suffer from plastic ingestion, infection, and laceration. Plastic discards persist for several centuries, truly alarming as it threatens humans and wildlife species. When disposed improperly, might destroy marine sanctuaries, and once ingested may result to death of animal species. This contributes to global warming. Do you take this as a global warning? Or instead of recycling, you just practice open-air burning? That is why impacts of plastic pollution are increasing. Indeed, plastics fuel global warming, emit greenhouse gases while degrading, accelerate and contribute to ice caps melting, which may lead to dissolution of everything. Proper waste disposal is not the only solution. Practice recycling, reducing, and reusing. All of this may be a great help in plastic reduction. Humans, wildlife, and marine species will have a better place to live on.
Protecting the environment is our foremost duty.
Zero waste should be maintained in every community.
Eradicating plastic must be our priority
to attain sustainable development in our society.
So, without hesitation,
make an initiation.
Stop plastic pollution
to save the next generation.
Napakasarap ng hangin na, tol. Alam mo ba, tol?
Ano, tol?
Nung buhay pa si Lolo, napag-usapan namin ng mga bagay tungkol sa air pollution.
Na paano yung ano, tol? Yung air pollution?
Simple lang daw ang pamumuhay dati. Maliwalas ang paligid. Madali daw huminga kapag nasa gilid ng daan. Napakasarap daw ng pakiramdam kapag nakaupo sa lilim ng puno at nagpapahinga habang nakatitig sa maliwalas na kalangitan.
Sa bagay, tol. Dati rin may mga nakikwet ng ganyan din yung lolo ko eh.
Ayun nga ya, tol. Hindi na raw katulad ng bago pang maganap ang pandemya na ito. Napakarami na daw pagbabago. Mga masasamang pagbabago. Ang dami na ng mga sasakyan na nagbubuga ng maitim na usok na nakakaapekto sa hangin na nilalangap natin. Yung mga puno daw na dati nilang pahingahan ay nauubos na din.
Ganun ba, tol? Kaya pala.
Ayun nga, tol. Sinabi ko naman sa kanya nun na may pag-asa pa naman. Kaya pang masolusyonan ng polusyon sa pamamagitan ng mga simpleng bagay at may balik ang dating ganda ng paligid.
Pero sigurado naman ako, tol. Masaya naman yung lola mo kung nasan siya ngayon at nakikita niya yung mga dati niyang hinahangad na may balik noon. Tara, tol. Baga tayo. Tara, sige.
Mauusok na sasakyan, pagputol sa mga puno't halaman, pagsusunog ng mga kemikal, plastic, goma, at kung ano-anong mga uri ng basura. Usok na nanggagaling sa mga planta.
Iilan lamang yan sa mga sanhi ng polusyon sa hangin. Ngunit bakit natin hahayaan na lumala pa ang kalagayan kung maaari naman natin itong masolusyonan sa pamamagitan ng simpleng pamamaraan?
Ang sobra-sobrang carbon dioxide na nanggagaling sa atin ay isang sanhi ng polusyon. Dahil kailangan ng mga puno't halaman ang carbon dioxide. At ang mga ito naman ang nagbibigay ng oxygen o sariwang hangin sa atin. Ang pagtatanim ng mga puno at halaman ang isa sa ating maaaring maitulong upang mabawasan ang polusyon at maiwasan ang greenhouse effect.
Dahil sa pandemyang nararanasan natin ngayon, ay nauso ang mga pagtatanim sa loob ng mga tahanan na isa sa halimbawa ng munting solusyon na maaari natin gawin. Kung dahil rin sa pandemya, nabawasan ng mga mauusok na sasakyan sa lansangan kung kaya't nakatulong din ito upang hindi lumala ang polusyon.
Marami pa tayong magagawa na makakatulong upang masolusyonan ang polusyon sa hangin.
Ang paggamit ng bisikleta ay mas maganda kaysa sa paggamit ng pribado o pampublikong sasakyan kung malapit lang naman ang iyong pupuntahan.
Iwasan ang paggamit ng mga sasakyan na nagbubuga ng maraming usok na nakakaapekto sa kalidad ng hangin. At marami pa.
Small things count.
Even in little ways.
We can cater solutions
To air pollution
and provide
Clean air.
For the future generation.
Biodiversity. Who has been destroying it? Well, it's none other than us. We have been destroying our main source of life since the beginning, when we should have been preserving it instead of just using it. So enough with the plastics. Enough with deforestation. Enough with intensive farming. We should make people realize that the world is suffering because of our doing. We should stop constructing buildings and start to plant trees. Saving biodiversity is not just for us. It is also for the future generations. There are many species that the future generations might not see. The Amazon rainforest could become something like a myth in the future. And I wouldn't want that. Nobody would want that. We can't lose biodiversity, because it is one of the most rarest thing in the universe, and it gives what everyone needs. Well, in fact, biodiversity is more valuable than these precious stones, paper money, and all the other things that are useless and could affect the biodiversity in a negative way. It is easier to plant trees than to make money. Money is just a part of the trading system, and trees are a part of our lives. Trees purifies the air that we breathe and filters the water that we drink every day. So we should be grateful, because we are the ones who's getting all these limited supplies from the biodiversity, and just by being glad about it would get us to nothing. So we should take the responsibility to plant trees and build a better world for the future. Future generations must be given the chance to inherit a secured world. Assist us in protecting the biodiversity, so not only we, but the future generations' world will be secured. Consulting people can be a valuable and efficient tool. Enlightening them about the effects of their decisions could enable them to be more mindful about their interactions with the ecosystem, which will help solve biodiversity loss. So I want you to join us in saving the biodiversity, in saving the world, and in saving the future. Join us in making the world a better place, one tree at a time.
Civilization has progressed to the point that is it now possible to explore the world and cosmos in great detail. But because of the growing population that causes more demands, humans want too much of the world's resources, whether it is food, land, power, or influence. Our world has been threatened by the global environmental challenges for several years, such as climate change and global warming, especially the melting of ice caps.
Ice caps are thick layers of ice and snow, which are mostly located in the north and south poles. They cover 10% of our planet's total landmass and 70% of the world's fresh water. Polar ice caps are also the habitat or resting platforms of polar bears, seals, other marine birds, and more animals that live in low temperature areas. The bodies of ice contain around 24,064,000 km³ of water. Imagine what will happen if these things melt due to the rising amount of carbon footprints and other air pollutants.
The melting of ice caps is mostly caused by the rising temperature of the Earth. This melting has the potential to have a major effects on all living things on the planet. Carbon dioxide emission and other greenhouse gases produced by the industry, transportation, deforestation, oil, and gas extraction, and especially burning of fossil fuels, warms the planet and causes the ice caps to melt.
This ice loss has now surpassed 335 billion tons per year, accounting for 30% of the estimated rate of ocean expansion. Firstly is the rise of sea level. Ice caps melt directly into the ocean, raising water depth and pushing sea levels higher onto land, affecting the fresh water that us humans consume, as well as the agriculture that might affect the supply of food. Having extreme weather events thawing of glaciers will slowly alter the global climate relating to change of phenomenon, which can alter climate patterns as far away in Asia and change the monsoon cycle. that can cause the disappearance of numerous species, both land and marine.
There are several groups of scientists that devise plans to stop, or at least reduce, the melting of ice caps. It aims to coat the bodies of ice in order to make it more reflective, which will result in lesser heat absorption, thus extending the lifespan of the ice caps. Locally, we have also developed products that might help us lessen the emission of greenhouse gases or carbon footprints that causes the rapid melting of ice.
Let us not concentrate on restoring the bodies of ice if we really want to recover the ice caps. Treating nature is the most effective tool to regain its services. Trees are the enemies of air pollution because they clean the gases in our air that causes global warming, thus lowering the temperature on our planet and eventually slowing the melting of the ice caps and keeping the majority of our land dry and intact with their roots.
The greatest challenge that our society and the governments today and the future generations to come is to sustain the development and intelligent management of this planet. Society must be able to supply sufficient food, energy, raw materials, and other manufactured products
without compromising the world's resources for the future generations and without living in a wasteland of environmental degradation. However, before humans can control the planet intelligently, they should consider social, economic, cultural, and political aspects of global environmental issues.
Us humans need to demand action from ourselves, our city, and our country. Let us educate ourselves how to mitigate the melting of ice caps. It is not an easy task, but let us help the Arctic countries, because what occurs in the Arctic does not remain the Arctic.
Aims to be a catalyst of change for the preservation of ice caps.
Bisasan metong tamo king pamaglingap
at pamikalugut king yato.
Hello?
Hi, Z. I need to ask you something I know you know a lot about.
Oh, hi, Z. Sure. What is it?
Are our carbon emissions harmless?
Well... (3,628.74 kilograms). That is the average amount of carbon that a person emits daily. Imagine, 7 billion people emitting 3,628.74 kilograms of carbon into the planet every day.
What does that mean? I don't see how that affects us.
Approximately 25 trillion kilograms of carbon is being emitted into the atmosphere per day. This much carbon is heavier than 100 million Statue of Liberties weighed together. And this isn't even accounting for the companies and industries that emit 71% of global emissions. Yes, you heard that right. 25 trillion for 101 billion 180 million kilograms of carbon is only about 20% of our total global emission.
Why is this important? I don't feel or see any change in my environment.
Carbon emissions create massive environmental issues such as global warming and ultimately climate change. It contributes to the rapid change of environmental stability and the extinction of thousands of species. It stems from the greatest contributors of carbon emissions, humans. The 6 main sources of carbon emissions as listed by the Environmental Protection Agency are transportation, electricity production, industry, commercial and residential, agriculture, land use, and forestry. The continuous exploitation of these resources will lead to an inevitable end result for our planet: irreversible and severe environmental scarring. Scientists estimate the years 2027 to 2042 would be the start of the irreversible damage that climate change and global warming will cause.
So, what can we do about this? Are we too late?
No, we aren't. But we're close to our global deadline. If every person lessens their carbon emissions, the global total would drastically go down. The daily emission of every person as stated by nature.org should be at most 1,814.37 kilograms. This is about half of our current daily average, and there are loads of things we can do to achieve this.
Hi Z, it's D. C asked me to explain this part for you.
Thanks, D.
Suppress your urge to buy non-essential junk. You know you don't need it. Don't hoard your food. According to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, food waste is not just a devastating misuse of resources, but it's also a huge contributor to the world's carbon footprint. Wear one item of clothing for 9 months, and you can reduce your carbon footprint by 30%. Eat food that is locally produced. By doing so, you reduce the carbon footprint created by shipping food. Support locals. Unplug those electrical appliances that are not in use. Dry your clothes naturally rather than using a dryer. Minimize your garbage output by using the 3 R's. Walk or use a bike. Get that exercise. Use energy-efficient lighting. Use reusable water bottles. There are so many ways that you can contribute, and it all starts with you. Your research, your voice, and your actions all help us inch closer to a cooler and a happier future.
But lessening my own emissions would only do so much to lessen our enormously scary total. Would it really do any good? Is it really worth it?
I know that you feel like your contribution doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but it does. There is proof that it's possible too. In the COVID-19 lockdown, our carbon emissions actually lowered somewhat. Yours, mine, and everyone else's participation in this joint effort to stop the effects of climate change all matter and aid in our planet's recovery. Don't be discouraged, because every journey starts with a single step.
Thanks to both of you.
Anytime.
No problem.
Thousands of years ago, forests and grasslands covered most of the earth. It is a common misconception that deforestation is a recent occurrence, gaining momentum in the tropical regions of the world since about 1950. But its history is long and all that has changed. This problem is also accelerating. The environment is even more sensitive to change, and some areas of the earth are already suffering from irreversible damage. Much of Earth's farmland was once forest. Environmental issues are one of the major concerns that humans should focus on. A lot are suffering, lives that are affected, and constantly degrading the quality of the environment, which ultimately results to much more major concerns. Deforestation is the clearing, destroying, or otherwise removing of trees by purposeful, natural, or unintentional methods. It can occur in any region highly inhabited by trees and other plant life, but the majority of it is now occurring in the Amazon rainforest and Sierra Madre mountain ranges. It represents one of the largest issues in global land use. Climate change, desertification, soil erosion, less crops, floods, more greenhouse gases in the environment, and a slew of other issues for indigenous people can all result from the loss of trees and other plants. It has several harmful repercussions on the environment. Trees and plants absorb and store greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, ozone, and methane from the atmosphere. When trees are cut down, greenhouse gases are released into the atmosphere, which contribute significantly to global warming. Cutting down trees also results in the extinction of life forms. There are several environmentalists, such as Anne and Billy Dumalain, that both actively protect the natural environment. The reserve and its neighboring areas were once centers for deforestation and illegal logging.
The Philippines is one of the countries that experiences deforestation. Before, all the islands which constituted the Philippines were forested. However, at present, approximately 35% of those trees remain, although around 28% remain in the form of frontier forest. The Sierra Madre is the longest mountain range in the Philippines, and many have considered it the backbone of Luzon. It has a land area of over 1.4 million hectares that spans across 10 provinces in the main island, and is home to most of the country's protected areas, including national parks, marine reserves, and protected landscapes. Other than it being a sanctuary for fauna and flora alike, it is also home to the indigenous communities of the Dumagats, who are all at risk of losing their homes. The Kaliwa Dam will be built along the southern part of Sierra Madre, a hub of biodiversity and rainforest in the country. It harms around 28,000 hectares of land and risks the lives of 3 endemic species. There will also be an impact on the people's lives who live inside and nearby the construction. For the Dumagat communities, this will result in the forcible displacement from their ancestral lands, loss of livelihoods, fishing grounds, sacred sites, culture, and way of life. If this thing will continue to happen, our environment will be damaged. Us people has the power to envision and achieve the future of the environment that we all wanted. There are platforms that raise awareness about deforestation and tree planting, such as Gcash. It has a feature called G-Forest that gives you the power to help rebuild the Philippine forests, one tree at a time. Help us save our Mother Earth, our forests, and our Sierra Madre mountain ranges. No to deforestation, plant one tree at a time. No to Kaliwa Dam, save Sierra Madre. Climate justice now, climate action. No to deforestation. Plant one tree at a time. No to Kaliwa Dam. Save Sierra Madre. Climate justice now. Climate